Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Live streaming. Take two on the Sportsnet YouTube channel. Listening on the Sportsnet 590 The Fan. And wherever you're picking up your fine podcast, Nick Kypreos. And back from assignment, Justin Bourne.
What's up, Kyper? How'd it go yesterday? I heard you fought with Sammy.
Not really.
No?
Maybe Sam felt that way. And I'm not sure if you've picked up this vibe in the last 4 months, 5 months.
Yep.
The highs can't be too high.
Yep.
And the lows can't be too low. And have we had a better example of that than the last two games from the Toronto Maple Leafs?
I don't know. Last night in and of itself had very high highs and very low lows. It was a very Maple Leafs experience last night. Hey, we're sports fans. It was entertaining.
Oh, no. Don't give that narrative, please.
It was a fun hockey match.
No. We're beyond that for Leaf fans.
All right, we're into the nitty-gritty.
If we have now gone to, hey, at the end of the day, it was entertaining, then we've lost a lot here.
If that was the goal of this team, they've checked that.
You're in it to win it.
Yeah. Okay. This year is about the Stanley Cup, so we're setting the bar high for expectations.
Thank you.
Low event hockey game last night.
Holy
not
smoke.
a lot going on in that one.
The old.
Where do we begin? You know where we're going to begin, and I think this kind of sums it up because I was traveling last night, but I did call. I did hear the call of Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph, and this was after Tavares scored to make it 6-6. So listen to them and how they kind of summed up the game that they were calling. Let's have a listen.
All right.
And it's 6-6.
How's your night?
Somebody's got to hit a 3 at the buzzer, don't they?
Is that Ralphie?
A Raptor reference.
Ralphie's the man.
Hey.
He's so good with that kind
Why
of
he's
stuff.
on our show regularly.
He's very good.
6-6, and they just start laughing.
Well, it
And
was.
that was the game in a nutshell. Like,
Yes.
no rhyme, no reason, just what the hell is going on here?
It's a great John Boyce tweet about playoff hockey being like, why watch overtime playoff hockey when you can just do cocaine while riding a motorcycle out of a helicopter? That was last night's game in a nutshell.
So because my bar is so high, I somewhat have a reputation apparently from everybody that watches or social media that I am a negative Nelly.
Hater.
Bit of
I am
a Debbie
hater.
Downer.
I'm a Debbie Downer because my bar is so high on what needs to happen to win a Stanley Cup.
Yep.
And
Do the people want to know,
Sammy,
or do they not
Sammy,
want to
were
know?
there people under the impression that we fought yesterday, that we don't like each other?
Yeah, we're at odds. We're at odds.
That we're at odds.
Yeah, we're just at odds.
Okay. So you came in after the Tampa Bay game, moonwalking and feeling like this is it. This was a message to the whole world that we're real and we are a force to be reckoned. 24 hours later, how do we feel, Sammy?
Same way.
Same way.
Same way.
Okay.
Same way.
Guns a-blazing.
I really
All
do.
right. Doubling down.
I am doubling down. They showed that they can score against the Florida Panthers. That defense for the Panthers showed me absolutely nothing. If Eric Shalgren doesn't let in a goal that my beer league goalie doesn't let in,
Yes.
that game is completely different. That changed the entire game. Tired legs, second half of a back-to-back. They got a point off of them. They were only up 5-1. I mean, I don't know. Like I really don't feel any differently.
Feeling good.
I do feel good. I don't feel that much differently about them after last night. I have to say.
What your take, Kyper, now in the wake of that? How did you see it differently?
Yeah, I see two teams that are going out real early in the first round last night.
Really?
Oh yeah, the way they played.
Not good.
Just, and I'm only speaking of what I witnessed last night.
That type of play, yeah.
That type of play. That, to Jim Ralph's point, that give me the ball in the last second. I will outchance you one more time, and I will find a way to win 7-6 or 10-9 or however high you want to go.
Right.
That's just not the mentality that you need to go in to try to win every other night for 2 months.
Yeah.
And both those teams are in big trouble if they don't get, to Sammy's point, some solid goaltending.
Yeah,
and
that's a big
Bobrovsky
issue.
and the Panther fans could say the same thing, that the Leafs don't jump up 4-1 if you know how to cover your short side, Bobrovsky.
That's a bad goal. Yeah. No, it's
So is it a one-off, or is this just the way these guys want to play?
Well, it's the way they do play, whether that's the goal for the two teams or not. These two teams spend less time in their own zone than all of the other 30 teams in the league. They're always in the offensive zone. So last night was pinball, right? Like it was scoring chance, scoring chance, scoring chance. There was no real prolonged zone time. It was just back and forth and up and down the ice. When you have two teams that play like that, it does feel really random at times. A bounce here, a jump there. They can both finish. It was exciting, but there's no doubt to me that if you're in a playoff series against a team like that, you can't let them have chances. You have to be on the D side of pucks where they weren't last night. Why don't we start with what Sheldon had to say? Is that fair to go there next?
Absolutely.
Can we
Let's
just-
get his thoughts on.
Before we do that, can we just talk about that Mitch Marner shorthanded goal? Can we all just rave about that before we do anything?
He is
That goal
just
was
continues to go to
filthy.
another level, and I'm watching, and both of them have been spectacular. But there are times when I see Austin out there, and especially on the game-winning goal, the 3-on-3, and he just looked spent. He just looked like he ran out of gas.
Yeah, it was a 2-minute shift, and
Right?
overtime will do that to you.
But I don't get that sense from Mitch Marner. I don't get the sense that like he is such a good skater, and his skating doesn't dip for me.
The read that he made to not only intercept the pass, but then to get that past, was it Uyghur? Boy, Uyghur had a tough night.
He slowed it down for him. He went to go try to play it, and he actually
Stick lift,
yeah.
and then comes in that backhand forehand move, which he actually used earlier in his career, a very similar goal against James Reimer when he scored a backhand forehand goal against him. So
And-
I loved it. I loved it.
On these nights when he's getting 2 and 3 points, it's almost as if you can envision him getting 5 or 6 points. If sometimes guys
Both
would
guys
finish.
last night, I think Matthews had 4 chances on one shift last night.
Right after they went ahead 6-5. And that last night put him, tied him with Matthews for the longest multi-point streak in a season.
Yeah.
So he now has 7 straight games with multiple points.
Marner just looks faster and
Stronger.
stronger
Yes.
than he more confident than he has in his career.
There's just no lull in him.
Yeah.
There's just no it's the Energizer bunny.
that line every shift. The other team is just on their heels, and I mean, no disrespect to the guy, but Michael Bunting's like, and I'm here too, and I helped.
And he hasn't shot it in.
The one thing
I don't mean to take a shot.
part of that entertainment value that JB you were speaking of earlier also comes from the fact that you look over on the other side, Barkov, Huberdeau, Sam Reinhart. I mean, these guys,
Yeah.
highest scoring assist ever
For Huberdeau from a left winger.
For a left winger.
And the Panthers are the highest scoring team in a regular season in 25 years. And the Leafs are second or in the top 4 or something like that. Like
These guys are
every
good.
time
Very good.
any possession felt like it was about to be a goal last night. Anyway.
All right, let's get Sheldon Keefe because we've got a few Kyper Clippers to get to. But the first one is just his general thoughts.
We go from being on a breakaway and a chance to make it 6-1 and don't score there and then follow that up with a too many men on the ice penalty right after. So that sort of starts the snowball. But, inside of that, we had some pretty terrible penalty killing. But just I'm not going to focus on all of that kind of stuff. I'm going to focus on the fact that we played another good hockey game today. We were bad in moments with the penalties. You can't take a 2-man on the ice penalty. You can't give up a shorthanded goal on a clear shot from the blue line. You can't have your fourth line take a penalty. in the third period, can't chase the puck on the penalty kill. Like all these kind of things, we can't do those in those moments. Maybe those are a sign of the fatigue factor coming in today. I don't know, because we obviously last night we didn't do any of those types of things. So I'm going to watch those kind of things.
Last night, TJ Brodie had a breakaway out of the penalty box to make it 6-1. If I'm not, do you remember Matt Fratton had the breakaway to make it 5-1?
Oh, no, I forgot.
Against Boston 2013.
Adam backhand, top corner, puck rolled on him. Anyways,
right,
continue.
but Brodie had that moment last night. He doesn't score on that one. And then things just turned. Do you think it's just the Leafs got settled in, thought it was in the bag, or what?
Well, just to play off of Sheldon a little bit, and I don't know if it goes back to his comment that soft and purposeless, but there's a narrative there that he won't put them on the hook. And I would have preferred his tone being the exact same way, with just talking about the things that you can't do and just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But just to find positives after that particular game, I think was a mistake.
I don't know. Wouldn't you think
He's
as a
been
player?
very positive. He's been very positive for a very long time.
Okay.
He doesn't have to do it every night. I think that's last night should have been disappointing to him. Not angry or bitter. And you can talk still about maybe back-to-back, maybe a little fatigue. But those aren't the reasons why we saw them make the mistakes. They've still got some poor decisions that they've made, some poor habits.
Yeah.
And it does creep up on them. And the blowing of the leads. That's not a fatigue thing. That's something that is in their DNA right now that they haven't squashed.
It is a mental hurdle that they're going to have to, and that's why I would have been disappointed after the game. Not just that they didn't get the win in OT to say, hey, we can handle their best punch and continue to rise up and be the best version of ourselves. But don't you think you'd be sitting in that dressing room if Keefe came out and just said, this sucked, this sucked, this sucked? Go, God, back to back against Tampa and Florida, just handed it to Boston. We handled these guys. We beat Carolina. We're really going to take it in the media from coach. Like, what are the expectations here?
Well, and 3 out of 4 points against Tampa and Florida.
Right.
And I get that.
So would there be frustration if your coach goes out there and says,
I don't know. What did Spezza was short and sweet in his comments, and it was just clearly that's unacceptable. It's no good.
Yeah.
And I think if everybody was on the same page that here we are, we just made a huge statement against Tampa Bay, and we've got a chance to make another huge statement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you let 30 minutes get away from you? When just think about the narrative. If Sammy was moonwalking yesterday into the studio after Tampa Bay, if they were able to put Florida away last night with another similar kind of finish of 6-2, like how does Sammy come in with on a hot air balloon?
It does seem tough for them to flip the switch to go from, all right, it's 4-1, we don't need it to be 5-1. It's 5-1, we don't need it to be 6-1. It does seem hard to toggle that switch.
I loved the fact that they did that against Tampa Bay, that they were, if I'm not mistaken, up 4-2, and they just shut the door. And they did it in a manner where they weren't pressing, they weren't forcing it, they weren't trying to run up their score or pad their stats. There wasn't a lot of signs of Cookie Monsters against Tampa Bay. But
But he's right about the goal that goes in, the third one to make it 5-3, the Raguda shorty slapper from the point.
Horrible.
That's the worst goal.
Horrible.
I mean, the Leafs a goalie has given up this year. That's the worst one for me.
But does that make you now feel like you got to run and gun and one up every shift?
No.
Yes.
Well,
yes. No.
Well, here's the thing.
No.
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
It's exactly the type of thing that when the Leafs get the seed of doubt in their mind and the fan base, you go, oh, here we go. It was the Leafs giving up the OT goal in Game 5 when you go, crap, now we're going back to Montreal. And you can start to catastrophize a way that you're going to blow it because they have blown it.
Yeah.
And so it's in their head. All of a sudden it's 5-3. You're in Florida. It's only a 2-goal game. They score. That's a huge goal. I agree with Sammy on that.
We're back to
Demons.
We're back to the demons.
But don't
they're real.
Don't you think well,
Paul
Sorry,
McLean's
I just hit
Demons.
the wrong button there. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
But don't you think in your mentality, if you're playing on the Leafs and you see the chances that they're getting in general, Sheldon's made some good saves earlier in the game. But when that one goes in, don't you think, God, we need 8 tonight? God,
That's the problem.
We need 7 tonight.
You can't be put that. Yes, I do think it happens.
If you're on the Leafs and you're Austin Matthews, like, I'm gonna have to score a hattie in the third period for us to have a chance to win.
If that's the narrative and it's coming as well from the coaching staff, they're in big troubles. Big troubles.
And I don't think it is coming from the coaching staff in game, but you're right that it's
because it comes at an incredible price.
Yeah.
And we do know it will tighten up. It will be even more physical. Middle lanes disappear. More board work, more 50-50 pucks that you got to come up with. And that's more playoff hockey.
But
which
do
means
you not feel
they're not 7-6 scores?
Well, I mean, until it's Tampa and Florida and 6-5 and OT or whatever. So this is what I wrote about today. The idea, because I knew we'd be talking about this. Can you win playing like that, air quotes, in the postseason? And I know that you don't think that's the case.
Correct.
That the way they played last night or the way they played in maybe Tampa Bay
and Florida
is enough to win in the postseason. And my only case has been that we have this idea of what playoff hockey success is, and teams play defensive and they play physical, right? If you go back and look at teams who've won in the playoffs, you can certainly find cases where that's true. The Kings in 2012 gave up like no goals against, big physical teams. But you go back the last 5 years, the Penguins in 2017, no decor. They were 17th in goals against that year. The Capitals the next year, 16th in goals against. They gave up a ton offensively. The Blues were comparable the next year. I'm just saying, teams have won Stanley Cups.
Yes.
The way the Toronto Maple Leafs do play.
No, you're wrong.
Okay, so
well, I look at Pittsburgh's D, and I don't remember a whole heck of a lot of big names there.
Hainsey and Dumoulin, Olimata.
They were
Ben
hard.
Lovejoy?
They were hard to play against.
But you can't tell me these
And
Leafs
they were
don't have
physical.
guys that are those guys. You can't
Did you see
Giordano or
Hall in front of the
Muzzin.
net? Did you see Hall in front of the net?
I don't think Justin Hall is that, but I think I don't think Olimata is that either. You can have a guy or two like Justin Hall.
They're not tough in front of the net.
No.
Labushkin.
Neither's John Carlson.
I thought Labushkin was one of those guys that gave them a different look. He wouldn't have been the first guy I would have scratched last night.
No.
He wouldn't have.
That it is nice that they have that option. It's an interesting choice. And so for you, is it Hall or Liljegren you'd pull out?
Yes.
One of the two.
100%.
Probably Hall.
I would have given Hall the benefit of the doubt after 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
They clearly have an idea that they want to get Hull and Muzzin ready.
Mm-hmm.
That last night proved it. I would have taken Liljegren out of the lineup.
Yeah, and not as a knock on him and just say, hey, Timothy.
By strength.
Yeah, here is the seven guys we want to put in. Who do you want us to take out for you?
I just see an easier decor to get to the front of the net. And I remember a no-name defense in Pittsburgh just being a lot harder.
I do wonder, we haven't seen Muzzin back and healthy with this D because Giordano is a little bit more of that. Not heavy, but harder.
Yeah, he had a bit of a tough night too.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily gold, but they're a fast team. They're a quick team. Did you see the penalty that he took?
I would say last night was the first night I noticed him where I was like, that speed is a lot for him. He's maxed out. The engine's revving.
Can I ask you, Kyper, when you look at the Panthers, you probably have to feel the same way about their decor as you do about the Leafs.
100%.
Yeah.
And what did we say before the end of the show?
Yeah.
The 10-7.
Yeah.
Like this is everybody said it. Wide open hockey, and they did not disappoint.
Mm-hmm.
The consistency was there. They're going to give up their chances. They're going to try to outscore mistakes. And didn't we see that with 13 goals?
And there was wide open lanes to the net for the Panthers for the Leafs off the rush.
There's just so much offense in that game. We should get to the Keefe clips. Do you want what he's liked about his team or their good stretch of hockey?
Let's do the good stretch of hockey because it's
more relevant here.
You're going to like it.
All right, good stretch of hockey.
This last little stretch we've been on here, we played Florida at home, we played Boston on the road. We played Tampa last night and play Florida here. To me, I was looking to come out of this little segment of the schedule with a sense of where we're at as a team, whether we can compete with the very best in our division. And I think the answer is unequivocally yes. So that's all I'm going to take out of this.
He's not wrong. And just take a look, I think, since mid-February. So Pittsburgh, they kept him to, 1 goal? Minnesota, 1 goal. Carolina, 2. Florida, 2 at home. Mm-hmm. Boston, okay. Late, I think. Yeah. Right? And then Tampa Bay, 2. So there are signs.
Yeah.
It's not all bad here. They can, if they really focused and put their mind to it.
They can and they will?
No, they can and they should.
Yes. Yeah. How do you find that version of the game? And this is why I said I do believe that there is something to do with these demons. Sammy was saying before the show, there's a Sportsnet stat, I think.
Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
I may have it in front of me.
All right.
That the Leafs blew their 7th game while holding a 4-1 lead since Game 7 of the 2013 playoffs. No other teams have 4 such losses.
So more than double the next highest 4-1 blown leads. So I don't know. It just feels like it's in their kitchen.
How do you compare one to the other?
Just going back different teams, you mean?
Yeah, different.
Do you know how you compare them? Their jerseys.
Laundry.
Laundry.
They're all wearing the
still
same
wearing
laundry.
blue and white.
All right. You gotta call a priest in or what?
Well, maybe something to that effect. I don't know. Watching that hockey game last night, I didn't get the feeling like the Leafs couldn't beat this team in 7 games. But part of that is
I think they can beat them for sure.
Florida's as flawed as the Leafs.
Exactly.
If we're doing a Panther show today, we're going, I don't trust the goaltending. Where's the defense? I don't know.
I do see a more physical team, though. That would be a concern for me. Can the Leafs win in 6 or 7? Absolutely. Will they need a few ice packs? Yeah. Gudas. I wouldn't last against a guy like Gudas. I would.
Why is he so angry?
I would at a certain point say, yeah, this is worth a 2-game suspension
to Gudas.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you know why I wouldn't? Because I'd be worried how many he'd take on me the next time we played.
Wow. Gudas is hard to play against.
He's just every game. Like, how's he angry?
Him and Tavares are just going at it. Both the last 2 games they've played, they were battling in Toronto. Last night, he stood him up.
I think Gudas is huge. Like, he's a tank, but I think he's only 6 feet tall or something, isn't he?
I mean,
he got some emotion out of Johnny.
Is that what if they play in the first round? I mean, is that as a teammate of John Tavares? I don't want him worrying about Gudas or having to battle this guy every night. I mean, I want to get that fly off.
I think you're going to have to worry about it because he's the type of guy that, like Bourne said, it's always angry and just keeps coming. He never stops.
I envy people who can be competitive. Like, it's like Kyper getting up for this show every day. Just brings that edge it must be exhausting to bring it every day.
Okay. Well, if I'm bringing it every day, then I'm not sure Shalgren's going to like my comments in the next little while.
Oof.
But everything that he's gained up until going into that game has been lost.
Flown away.
Gone.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
I don't know what the hell I just witnessed with, are you hurt? Are you not hurt? You're hurt. You're in the room. You're on the bench. You're healthy again. That means you're good enough. You're cleared. You pulled yourself. Sheldon Keefe pulled you. Like, what the hell did I just watch?
I know. I'll give credit where it's due. At the intermission, they mentioned, it does seem a weird coincidence that when someone is hurt, a goaltender pulls themselves. It's after a bad game or a bad period. I know we're supposed to be like, well, you got to look out for yourself and your health and all that. But it did feel like his performance played into his decision to go to the bench.
Well, that was rubber stamped when he was on the bench.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, it's not a health issue.
Yeah. So I that was really strange to me. Like, just
that you're putting in Campbell, that it has had his struggles on his own. Just played the night before. You're really trying to work this guy's confidence back into.
As the backup, we're trying to rest the starter. We don't care if you give up 10 tonight. We just need you to stay in there.
So that's not on Shelgren. Then that's on Sheldon Keefe. He made a mistake.
You should have left him in.
100%.
Really?
100%. I don't care. If you're good enough to sit on this bench, you're good enough to go back in. I'm not putting Jack Campbell back in there. Jack's feeling good. He's off of a big win.
Yeah.
Why put Jack Campbell? He should have lost the game knowing Shelgren is mentally not there.
And at least part of that would be for the Leafs. You could sit here and go, well, if we have Campbell in that game, it's different.
And the mystery, think about this, okay? The mystery of if you have to play Florida again in the playoffs. I would have protected Campbell. I would have protected him to the point where, you don't get to see our number one starter maybe till the first round of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They got another game. So you lose the game. Lose the game with Shelgren.
I wonder if he had to take him out, though. If Shelgren was like, I got a head injury, and Keefe's like, well, all right, then.
No. If that's the case, he's, the Leafs.
You're out.
There's not a chance you're going back on the bench.
Why don't we listen to Sheldon? Because he had a good quote that relates to this, and we'll carry on.
I just ultimately made the decision, even though, it turned out that Shelgren was going to be okay. I had made a decision at that point based on what was happening in the game. I might have made a goalie change even before that if it weren't for the fact that it was back-to-back for Jack. But then by this point, he's already in the net. He's already kind of put himself into the game. So I figured we'd give Jack, an opportunity to finish the game out. But it's a tough spot for Jack here, obviously, being back-to-back and all of that. But that save was unbelievable and gave our group confidence.
Yeah, I would have rather lost with Shelgren and turned around to everybody and say, hey, listen, it's been a nice ride up until now. Clearly, this kid's over his head right now, and we got to do what we can to protect him. But after witnessing what I witnessed, that guy is not ready to be a backup in a Stanley Cup playoffs. He needs. Has he been sent to
no choice?
He needs to be at the Marlies like 5 minutes ago.
Got no choice.
Okay.
Michael Hutchinson's the other guy that's going to play for you.
Yes.
That's your guy now?
Yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Boy.
I know, but I don't even disagree with Kyper here.
And it's hard to because
I can't count on this guy.
I think it's fair. I do think that's fair because you saw what happened last night. He hasn't been very good. He was pretty good in this first period, but it was going south. That goal goes in, changes the game. He does what he does. Michael Hutchinson's played in the NHL at least. I guess that's your only thing you got.
The more is to take the most compassionate angle I can. He gets hit in the head. He feels a little flustered. He wants to go to the bench, take a moment, and then his coach doesn't want to put him back in. That's the best case scenario. The coach said, well, Campbell's already in there now, catches the first shot.
And that's fine. Then Shelgren's got to say, I wanted to go back in, but my coach said it was best for me to stay out. I have to listen to my coach.
Yeah.
But that is not what was said.
No, I don't think so either.
So now you've kind of exposed Jack to the Florida a little bit as well. I mean, he made some great saves, and he's always capable of making some great saves.
Yeah. But
it's still a bad feeling for Jack to come in like that and even say to himself, I couldn't hold him.
Well, and you know what? I didn't like Campbell's game, and I'm in the minority here. I'm on Twitter. I have Leafs fan friends. I didn't like it, though. Like, I thought the sixth goal, the Barkov goal,
yes.
He's got to get out of the way of the puck, essentially. Like, if he just laid on the ice, it hits him. I felt like he was busy and swimming. The OT winner, never going to blame a guy for a 2-on-1 cross crease pass. But, he's over there if he's just over and square. I thought he's on his stomach pretty quick, and I know he's expecting a high shot there, but it's a gettable shot. I just thought a few of them, he wasn't awesome is all. And I agree with you that it put him in a bad spot. And now you feel like, oh boy.
How about Wall? Is he still out with his shoulder injury?
I think he's still hurt.
Yeah, he's still hurt.
But maybe he'll get some games and he could be a possibility. It's Jack or nothing.
Yeah, you can't think that way though. You got to think that Jack's still, unfortunately, a groin pull away from leaving you where you have to cover yourself. And right now, do you think that Shelgren's more talented than Michael Hutchinson, yes. But am I fearful that Hutchinson's going to disappear on me at any second? They got to really find out what happened with him. There was a close-up of him on the bench, and I don't know whether he looked, in my opinion, he looked in a little discomfort. I don't know if it was his breathing or just his overall body language, but there was something not right with him when the camera panned to him. But it could have been the anxiety of the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe the feeling of, I'm not ready for this.
Right.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
I've had teammates feel that way. I've watched it. I've lived it.
Yeah.
It does happen. He is human, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. But as people of authority, like a Kyle Dubas and a Sheldon Keefe, you want to put your athletes in a position of success, not, don't leave them hanging.
It was a bad outcome just because, when I think of the hardest things I've been through in my life, I tend to call upon them in my tough, when the tougher moments come later. You would have liked for him to grit through it, have even if it doesn't go perfect, and just go, I hung in there in that Florida game when I was feeling off. Now the questions are certainly there, and it's not somewhere we want to be.
Think about it. They're a top team. They're one of they're the highest scoring team in the league with, the Leafs.
Yeah.
Like,
you're in Florida, you're in their barn, back to back. It's a tough
your
night.
moment.
No
that's
doubt
the
it's a
one
tough
that
night.
you've lived for your whole life.
Yeah.
That's what you've worked for your whole life, to get in those moments, right? If you got pulled for whatever reason, you should have been screaming, I want back in.
Yeah.
The game's up for grabs. I want to be the guy that makes the difference.
Yeah.
But that's not the sense you got. But anyways, we'll move off of that. And
we got one more Kyper's Clipper.
We assume that, Jack's getting ready for Dallas, another team that's searching for lifelines to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs.
My concern now for this group is I think they've really had this section of the schedule highlighted. It's been, again, Carolina, Boston, Florida, Tampa Bay, Florida in there. And I worry that the next 7 games, I think there's two playoff teams on the docket for them. I worry about them looking, kind of the letdown that would come now.
Oh, this team never takes his foot off the gas when given an opportunity. Why would you worry about that?
All right, well, let's go to Sheldon for a big picture look, right? Is that what we got
on
next?
what he's liked about the team,
Just confident, committed, and resilient. And I'll use resilient because that showed up again tonight. It's our power play wasn't good in that third period in the second half of the game. And then it's a critical moment there where our guys have to gather themselves, go out. We got another chance on the power play and a chance to tie the game. And they execute and get it done for us. I thought that, to me, again, is another terrific thing, that in that moment, our guys needed to push back. Our best people needed to execute at a critical time, and they did. That gets us to overtime, gets us a very important point. To me, like I've said it 100 times, that to me the game's a tie and then the overtime's a crapshoot. I mean, John misses his breakaway and they score on their 2-on-1. That's the way it goes. But the resilient piece today, obviously we hate how we give up the lead and all of those kind of things, and there's lots to take away from that. But we did a ton of really good things here today on a back-to-back against the top team, in our conference. So feeling really good about where we're at as a team.
See, he's on the program. We'll just keep coming at you, and we'll find a way to score just one more goal than you. And he's right with the resilient part, and he's right with the confident part.
Right, it was 6-5 Florida in Florida on the tail end of a back-to-back, and you tie it up.
They don't look traditionally like a team that just blew a 5-1 lead.
Right.
Because then
there was no hang in their heads.
There's no hanging. There's no woe is me. There's no body language sulking. There's no lip dragging. There's just, hey, we'll score. And Tavares did.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good goal. It spoke to everything.
And Nylander's winning pucks last few games.
It spoke to everything that Sheldon's talking about. But I still don't know if that attitude's part of the problem or part of the solution.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, you can't keep going to the well like that. It just doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. And you're right. You just feel like that a team like Florida, you're going to play a team like Florida offensively, whether it's Florida or not. And you do feel like you need to get on the right side of every pile. Because if you start to do that trade chances thing, you're going to give up just so much offense. And it is terrifying. But I'm with them that I like the idea that they hung in there and they try to go get the next one. You know, as I said, Nylander winning pucks, getting in piles and stuff. It's there. There is a lot of good there if you can just tweak that little bit. Tweak that defensive side of things a little bit for them.
One more before we go to break here, and I've spoken highly of Clifford, the fourth line. But maybe I could forgive you a little bit for a horrible penalty, I think 2 weeks ago in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot, as a fourth line player, take a neutral zone slashing penalty.
No kidding.
And that, to me, is a sign of
can't keep up.
Can I trust you in tight scenarios? That just can't happen.
Well, how about the bench minors? Now, that too many men penalty for the Leafs. So there's the fourth line taking them. That's their 13th bench minor, the most in the NHL.
Now, did you guys get a good look? The TV didn't do it justice.
No,
they just announced it as a too many men. But I like to, the first thing I always did when I covered the games was find me a shot of what happened. I need to find out who's accountable here.
Right.
So you mentioned it earlier in the show. Brody comes out of the box and heads for a breakaway.
Yeah.
Unbelievable backhand sauce by Mitch.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So keep in mind now that there are 3 defensemen on the ice.
Right. So that's
the confusion.
Complicated change because some forward has to take a D.
So in the opposite zone, in your own zone, I believe it was Morgan and Justin Hall. So they're coming off for the two P.
They should be the same
up.
D change, right? They shouldn't be any different.
That's right. And then what I saw up front from my recollection was Tavares, Marner, Matthews, and Tavares.
Sorry, all 3 Tavares, Marner, and Matthews coming on?
They were on the ice.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think it was Austin that got caught.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do? Before our show tomorrow, I'll go through every bench minor and blame someone. I'll see if there's a culprit.
You cannot fix this until you point a finger at somebody.
Right. And the answer might be the coach.
It's just happening too often here.
Right. I agree.
And
no, last year their power play dried up and and everyone's like, they're so talented. It'll get sorted out when it matters. Didn't get sorted out.
And we always talk about,
This is the same thing.
I think about the NFL and I think about teams with bad special teams that it seems like it's a minor thing. For example, like special teams or, they're some minor less thing that you think isn't that important.
Yeah.
Always rears its head at the most important time.
Right.
So you get a muffed punt or something bad happens. In the playoffs, I can picture it now, a too many men with 3 minutes left in the third period against Boston, and it goes on the power play, they score. These mistakes, these things, they always rear their head at the worst time. It's just Murphy's Law. It happens.
Well, and, I just thinking of Leafs history, if you want to play that game, you can say, whether it's the Galchenyuk OT turnover, Jake Gardiner weak defensively in Game 7, or Dermott, those things do come back at the worst time. So hopefully that they have some chit chats about that.
Well, they're chit chatting about it.
Yeah.
Good news still, though. You mentioned Nylander picking up his game. Engvall, Mikheyev still finding ways for odd man rushes, and it's a good sign.
They're great. I mean, they're you feel like you can count on them now. Right? Like when you go into a game, you trust that you're going to get a look or two from Engvall or Mikheyev, which is wild to think going into the season that's become such a strength of the team.
I know. Engvall's flying.
He is flying.
He drew a big penalty last night that they scored the tying goal on the power play. He went flying into the zone, got tripped. But, man, he can just He's going the right direction.
One thing that before we go to break, TJ Brody's struggled for a while for me here. 3, 4, 5, 6 games, even during this good stretch, they rely on him so heavily to like shore up whatever pair he's on. Just a lot more mistakes. Was it the first one where he turned it over, then he's chasing the play, going back his own way? You know, it's just more moments where I'm like, Brody had a tough one tonight. That's something they need him to be good to make if he's going to play first pair minutes.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Making his real Kyper and Bourne debut, David Amber.
DA.
Have we completely run out of guests?
That's not very nice. But yes.
My man, DA.
Not a chance, man. We've been hunting this guy down for what, 4 months now.
He's busy. He's important.
He's been ducking us.
He has been.
But we got him after the break. David Amber. All right. You're listening and watching Real Kyper and Bourne. Show number. I don't know. What show number? 127.
Hey. Let's go.
Wheel, Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
All right, as promised, as advertised, a rising star at Hockey Night in Canada. And if you don't believe me, just go read the McGill Alumni News. David Amber, ladies and gentlemen.
What the hell kind of intro is that?
I don't know. Four-time Gemini Award winner?
Yeah, zero-time Gemini Award winner. How's that? All right, listen, long-time listener, first-time guest. So it's good to be on the show with you guys.
All right. First of all, we've asked for you about 1,000 times. And 1,000 times, this is the one that got me, the hair salon appointment. You know,
We knew that was a lie.
We knew that was a lie for sure.
No, the only one that was maybe not convincing. I said I had shampoo in my eyes once, and I had to. I pulled a Shahlgren. I just walked away from my responsibilities.
So, can I ask you? You know, we haven't worked for you with the last year and a half, 2 years. Are you still as emotional as Sammy McKee, our producer here, watching this Leaf Hockey Club?
I consider Sammy the voice of reason on the show. He speaks directly into my soul. I mean, even ask Justin. Justin and I, we work together on some Tuesdays and some Leaf games, and it's not. I'm a reasonable person. I'm somewhere between insane and Steve Dangle. I'm somewhere in that. I emotional, I guess. I get into it. I get emotionally involved a little bit, but not crazy. I think I have reasonable takes.
Okay. And the best part is, though, it's for all Canadian teams. The passion extends beyond the Leafs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we do focus on the Leafs here. So what do you make of the madness of last night's hockey game? Glass half full or empty?
Well, listen, Kyper, I'll say, and I know your guys' job is to dissect and analyze every last thing. I'm just purely speaking as a hockey fan, it's so fun to watch this open craziness. Like, it just is fun. So I would love to have a playoff series with Florida and Toronto. So I'll preface my answer by just saying that, because I just think it would be explosive and unpredictable and wild and fun. And I think a lot of hockey fans would eat that up. I look at it two ways. One, it showed once again, the Leafs certainly have this big flaw that sometimes we forget about, right? Like, over the last couple of months, and even during this winning streak, they've scored goals at will, right? They've won 5 games in a row, scoring 6 goals every game, or whatever the case may be, on average of 6 goals a game, which is great, and it's a fun brand of hockey, but it's really about defending. And that, and I heard you guys, a lot of the first segment you had, and about the lack of tough physical play in front of the net and too many scoring chances. I mean, were 5 or 6 of the Florida goals scored within 2-3 feet of the Toronto goal? So, yeah, I mean, it really showcased that there's issues there, which is the glass, half full part. The glass, full part is, they're coming off a back-to-back. They're playing 2 of the best teams in the league. They're able to score at will against both Tampa and Florida, and their star players have been exceptional. I mean, look at the run, Matthews is on, look at the run Marner's on, and it's been, we haven't seen a run this hot, Kyper, since you were at the craps table in Vegas. Oh, my God. I don't know if you remember that, Nick? You rolled for 55 minutes.
55 minutes.
Come on.
How
much money do you make? You can't tell us or what?
Not
enough.
Enough to buy David a soda.
That's great.
But, so there is some good things. Listen, it's not perfect. It's still a work in progress. But one thing I'll say, guys, if there's a difference in my eyes, if there's a difference between this Leaf team and some of the previous iterations, it's this. When I look at their big 4 on D of Brody, Giordano, Muzzin, and Riley, I think it's a pretty formidable group. And I know you got to play with 6 defensemen, not 4, and the Leafs now have, I guess, 8 defensemen to choose from. I just think it's a little bit better than some of the, they're not as offensively, heavy, right? It used to be Tyson Barrie. It used to be Jake Gardiner. I feel like there is the ability to lock things down when push comes to shove And you still have some of that offensive ability, obviously, with Riley. So I do feel a little bit better about the Leafs blue line in general heading towards the postseason.
So you feel better about the blue line, but how do you feel about the goaltending situation now? Jack Campbell gets back in finally. Källgren, you mentioned, had a curious departure from the last game. Do you think this can hold up?
You know what, JB, that's a great question, and that's the concern, right? Because now we're on to like, hey, Michael Hutchinson on line one, right? Wall's hurt, Mrazek's hurt, Källgren, we're not sure what his status is, and Campbell is just getting back from an injury, and psychologically is what you always have to worry about with Jack Campbell. Is he feeling good about himself? He was feeling great after the Tampa game. I'm sure he's feeling great as he wakes up today on his way to Dallas. So, there are some massive concerns there, and when you go through the goaltending situation in Toronto, it's as questionable as there's going to be. Like you look at the other 7 teams in the Eastern Conference who are going into the playoffs, and maybe aside from Washington, everyone else at least has a pretty good understanding of what they have in net, and the Leafs don't have that right now. The best case scenario is that Campbell can get his footing over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks as we head into the postseason, and he feels comfortable and confident and good, and he's physically rested and able and healthy, and it's fingers crossed that you get to Jack Campbell, from the first 3 months, and away you go.
Part of your job as a broadcaster, David, is to pick up the energy and the passion when it comes to star players. We know that because you're taking full credit for starting the reality check of Ovechkin chasing Wayne Gretzky's goal title. And when was that, by the way? 2000
Oh, God.
9?
Well, I don't know. All I know is, you guys have been in show meetings with Nick, so we're just sitting around and I'm like, I really think Ovechkin's going to beat Gretzky. And without second hesitation, Nick just basically,
buried him.
Yeah, shut me up, set me into the corner. You're an idiot. You're on the game. What's wrong with you? I'm like, oh, God. So I said it.
I'm giving you full credit right now.
Well, he's still, he's got some work to do. But you know what? I think he's got some momentum. And listen, no one could have predicted. And granted, he slowed down the last few weeks, but no one could have predicted, at age 36, he still would be amongst the league leaders in goals. And I didn't predict that. The biggest premise to me thinking that Ovechkin would pass Gretzky, guys, was that, well, a few things. One is I think he wants to, and I think he has, if he has the passion to do that, he doesn't mind if he has to pull a Jagger, I don't think, and play to 42, 43 to do it. And then he's got his running mate with him in Nick Backstrom, right? And all the best goal scorers in the world, that they have their sidekick. Hull had Oates and Gretzky and Curry, and obviously we're seeing even Marner with Matthews. You have that sort of guy who you have that chemistry with, and he's Backstrom. So I just sort of felt like as long as that duo's together and Ovi has that shot, he doesn't have to skate end to end the way McDavid does, that he's got a legitimate shot. So I still think he's got some work to do, but I think now if you'd ask the average hockey person, it's probably at least 50-50 who thinks he's going to do it now. And
it was just the durability part that I had.
I was with you, Kyper, 100%.
This guy does not get hurt. And if he does, it's not for any great length of time throughout his career. It is just phenomenal to watch a guy get older, still hold his pace of play, and find a way to be in the lineup every night.
It's nuts. He's a freak, right? He's that unicorn that Brian Burke speaks of. He's not one of those guys who shies away from physical play. There was a time when he was averaging, I think, 200 and something hits a year, too. He was among hit leaders and goal leaders. And you're right. He's had more games missed due to suspension than he has due to injury in his career.
Wow.
So, whether that will hold up, I don't know. But he's proven he's certainly, he's a freak of nature. And at this point, there's no reason to think he won't do it. Having said that, I'm a basketball fan too, and for anyone who's following LeBron James, LeBron James was this freak of nature and this physical specimen and everything else. Well, he's had a bunch of injuries. Here he is, LeBron, I think, is a year older than OV. I think he's 37 or around the same age, and maybe 37, and he's now looking like his age. So things happen quickly, right? So there's no guarantee here, but I'd like to see Ovechkin keep pushing towards it because I think it's a pretty cool storyline.
Okay, so I want to make it an official notice right now on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. David Amber is announcing now that he thinks Austin Matthews will be able to break a potential record of Ovechkin or Gretzky, because Austin, I think, is on a better pace than Ovi's pace to start their careers.
Is that true?
I don't know. I think goals per game, it may be
if
true.
If it isn't, it sounds really
sounds
good.
Awesome. But yeah.
And yes, it is true.
Wow. I mean, he's amazing. Austin Matthews, I mean, that's the one thing, and I know there's a lot of hyperbole, and you're right. We do want to build up the stars and everything, but I don't think we have to push too hard right now in this era, right, guys? I mean, we don't have to build up guys that aren't good. I mean, we're watching generational talents when you talk about Matthews and McDavid, et cetera. It's a pretty cool league right now, and the playoffs are going to be nuts, right? We're going to see 5 or 6 really good teams lose in the first round.
Yep.
Because this is the salary cap era. There's horrible teams and there's amazing teams, and there's no shortage of stars on those amazing teams. So, Matthews is a generational talent. We're seeing that, and it won't shock me if, he ends up, 55, 60 goals is sort of a norm for him, in this during his prime in the next few years. That doesn't sound outlandish if he could stay healthy.
One of the stars right now is someone that was in the news the last time you and I worked together. We were on with Jen Botterill, and it was Willie Nylander had just got demoted to the third line. There was much argument that day about his value and what he brings. And what have you made of how Nylander has played since he's been publicly called out by Sheldon Keefe?
He's been better, and I think that's probably what. Whether it's Leaf management or some fans in Leaf Nation and certainly some broadcasters, it's probably what is so confounding about the whole thing is he shows flashes of being so engaged and so skilled, and then he sort of disappears and doesn't show that on a consistent level. And I guess that's really what the difference is between the superstars in the league and some of the other guys. And I think Nylander, skill-wise, could be right there with some of those best players in the league, but we don't see it night in, night out, the engagement, right? But maybe that was the wake-up call. Sheldon Keefe, said post-game, you guys were playing the comments, and he really kind of singled out Willie and not nearly enough, not nearly good enough, and, changed him up, took him off sort of the white-collar line and put him more onto the blue-collar line and said, well, this could be your life. What are you going to do? And I think I've been more impressed with him, not just because of the scoring, but he just seems to be at least a bit more engaged at both ends of the ice, and I think that's really what Leafs management's hoping for.
Part of your job on Hockey Night in Canada, West Coast games, is it safe to say that Calgary above everyone else? And we know Edmonton's coming on, and McDavid's doing McDavid things, but Calgary, in your mind, is the team that has earned the most respect? Yeah, absolutely. As far as the Canadian chances to win a Stanley Cup this year. Calgary and Kyper, you played on a team like this in '94 where there was a ton of skill and great players and Hall of Famers and all of that, but there was also a bunch of guys with identities on that team. I heard you talking about Noonan and Matzo and guys like that, guys like yourself. You need those blue-collar guys. You need those third and fourth line guys, not to be a liability, but also to be an asset, to grind the other team's best players and to be there on special teams and to do the things you need done. And I look at Calgary, you look at that lineup, how different does it look than the lineup that was so dependent on Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan for all those years in the playoffs? It's different. And I know Gaudreau's having a heart-like season, but they just run so deep, right? They've added Toffoli. They go get Blake Coleman. They get Yarncroc. They've added this another layer of scoring. Guys like Mangiapane are coming up, and I know he's been through a bit of a dry spell right now, but they just have so many layers on balanced scoring, and they have the physicality top to bottom. I mean, that blue line is sensational, and there was so much, consternation amongst Flames fans. Oh my God, we lost our captain, Mark Giordano, and it's true. That was a big loss, but what it's done is it's allowed guys like Shillington and Rasmus Anderson to step up in that void, take on some extra minutes, take on some extra responsibility, and they've been sensational. And then you throw in Markstrom into the mix. He's arguably the best goalie in the Western Conference. I'm not sure there's another goalie I'd want in the playoffs in the Western Conference who I'm going to take over him. So, I just love that team. I think they're made for the playoffs, and Kyper, absolutely nothing but respect for them. It'll be really interesting to see, what they can do come playoff time.
How about the other Albertan team? Just looking at the Oilers, they've won 5 straight hockey games now. They seem to have found a little bit of a groove. McDavid and Draisaitl both kind of around that Hart Trophy conversation yet again. Yeah. They're probably going to get LA in the first round. Like, if we're looking at Canadian teams that have a legit chance at making noise in the postseason, it feels like they've got as good a shot as anybody.
Yeah, the goaltending though, right? I still, oh my goodness. It's, listen, Mike Smith, I did the game last night. Mike Smith was solid. He actually set up the game goal. You saw that pass. Huh? That was amazing. Yeah. But, that's the question. Like, do you trust Koskinen? Do you trust the health of a Mike Smith at age, 40 to try and lead them through 1, 2, 3 rounds of the playoffs? That's going to be the big question mark. Our dream scenario obviously would be Calgary wins the first round, Edmonton beats LA in the first round, and we get the Battle of Alberta in the second round. That's the dream. That's when I'm doing my prayer at night. That's what I'm throwing out there. But and I think it would be fun. It'd be great theater, if nothing else. Edmonton, though, I look at them as a good team, but just like the Maple Leafs and just like a few of the other teams we're seeing, Florida for that matter, there's some question marks there, and maybe they'll be answered, but maybe they won't. So there's still, we're here in Toronto wondering about Jack Campbell or just wondering about the goaltending situation in general. I think there's even bigger question marks, maybe with the Edmonton Oilers and how their goaltending is going to survive when they've got to match up, potentially against the UC Soroses and the Jacob Markstroms and the Fleury Talbot tandems and the Darcy Kempers of the world. So it's not going to be an easy road.
Just briefly, you mentioned the Hart MVP. Are 12 games here still going to help someone decide this thing, or are you like Sammy and just I've already delivered it to Austin Matthews?
Sammy's the best. I think it changes. We were talking about this last night, and Megan Nicholson said, I think it's like such a fluid situation. It's changing every hour. And, I get her point. Like Huberdeau goes out and has a 5-point game, Kipper, and suddenly it's like, wow, he's now second in the league in points, and now he's, kind of on a hot roll, and Johnny Gaudreau's on a hot streak. 2 weeks ago, everyone was like Shesterkin, and he's been pretty average the last couple of weeks. I don't think we can list the guy and sort of say it's his and it's done. I think these next 12 games might separate a few of the guys, including Austin Matthews, if he can hit some of these milestones, right? Like if he hits 60 goals, something we haven't seen in 10 years. That's another feather in his cap. So, McDavid's going nuts right now. What if he ends up with 130 points? That might change the argument. So there's a few different milestones that could be hit in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But to me right now, and the Masters is here this weekend, I'd say that the leader in the clubhouse has got to be Austin Matthews.
Love it.
You got any money on Tiger this weekend?
Yeah.
I don't really like gambling, Nick.
Most likely to lose his house. Isn't that what you said, Justin?
He's voted that in his high school yearbook.
I'm excited for Tiger's comeback. I mean, you guys are too, right? I mean, it's such a cool story. Such a cool story.
An amazing one. All right, we're gonna let you go. We'll book you 4 months from now, or
oh Lord.
Hey.
Anytime you want.
All
I
right.
appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Now, is it biceps or triceps today? What do you got going?
Come on, Nick. Let's get on the squat rack. I'll be okay.
There he is, David the Rock Amber.
Not just bis, not just tries, not just quads. He's got quinceps.
So when we used to go to the GM meetings at Boca, and then we'd come with his knapsack and his flip-flops, and then he'd peel the T-shirt, the boys' medium T-shirt off, and then Elliot and I would look at each other and go, okay, we're leaving.
Just DA and Bergevin benching each other,
yes,
taking turns.
Do you have gum on your shoe? Which way to the beach? Just embarrassing how good he looks.
He's a fit man.
Not right.
Very fit.
Not right. So I know we're going to get into this a little later, but 12 games, plenty of time here to win or lose in a major award.
It is. The one thing I'll say there is, I went to school for psychology. And one thing I know about the human brain is it's very hard to get people to change their minds. People do not like to change their minds. It is like a set thing. Whatever you think first, it's almost impossible to change your mind. So
I'm the guy that brought up, a potential, could Austin Matthews one day challenge for, those type of numbers that Ovechkin and Gretzky have?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, let's not go there. And I'm like, what, am I Sammy now and you're me? Is that
the tables have turned.
Is that what's happened now? You're talking me off the edge?
Matthews' injury rate is more concerning than Ovi's, but I think his goals per game is higher than Ovi's was at his age, at his point of his career.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And again, just watching him last night, the way he can drag the puck and hold on to it, like, we've always had this, we have a million cliches in hockey, but having it on a string, it really does
like
look
magnetic.
like that. The way he can shift the puck, change lanes, shoot it, or actually hold on to it, it's I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. And we know McDavid's got some quick hands too, but moving the puck laterally, both these guys, they're in a league of their own.
When he scored his third goal in Tampa Bay, he was almost standing upright, like the way you do when you're messing around with like little kids or something like that. Like he got it, and he was so confident, like he just stood up straight and just kind of dropped it where he needed to. There's just such a confidence. But you're right, the way the puck follows him around is pretty unbelievable. But yeah, so with the Hart Trophy thing, I feel like it's in people's brains that it's McDavid right now, that it's Matthews right now. And so someone's going to have to do something substantial. Like McDavid's going to have to go on a 12 games, 30-point run, or Shesterkin's got to have 5 shutouts, or, something has to happen to take it away from Matthews, just based on how the human brain works. That's my thought.
He's every game, he still gets tremendous looks.
Yeah, just chances after
and
chances.
Whether it was Bobrovsky or Knight, I mean, there's still signs of great saves, as Jack made last night too. All these guys, they're talented guys. For whatever reason, they can let a stinker in, but it's not out of the realm to think that this guy could one day score a goal a game. Like he could get into the, and if by chance he gets really lucky, I mean, could he challenge one day? I don't know. For Gretzky's single season record of 92.
Well, it's the 47 and 47 that make people go like this.
92 is so sick.
It's so sick.
But
oh my God.
But and a lot of things have to go right. But if he just went out there and just said, I'm going to do it, and you're going to give up different looks. I'm not sure Marner and Bunting or whoever you're playing with would really look forward to that. Because he's going to be pumping 8 or 10 shots a game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this guy gets constant looks every game that could be the difference between a 0 or 3 every night.
What has to happen is the game has to change to where there's just more offense. Because when Gretzky scored 92, there was something like 8 goals per game on average. And then for years here, there's been 5 goals per game and change.
But then they started changing the rules.
I'm saying it's going back that way.
Of course it is.
So
it's been steered this way by the league.
Yeah. So it's back up. Now it's over 6 goals per game. If it keeps going this way, right as Matthews kind of peaks, I mean, 60 is possible this year. It's not impossible to see 70 next year. And if it became a focus and, you're right. If he's healthy, played 82 games, I'm not saying it's 100% impossible.
We'll change a few more rules. I'm sure we'll have soccer nets by the end of the decade.
Just angled posts to kick everything in.
All right, we'll get Brad May's thoughts on that and a ton more. We haven't had Mayday on for a while, have we? When was the last time we had him on? He was like getting a COVID test during our interview.
We've had him on once since
Was
then.
Mayday the quote, well, it's not good? Was that how? That's my favorite drop of ours, I think.
No, he had a better one.
Oh, he said
I'd fight my mom to win another Stanley Cup.
I'd fight my mom.
I'd fight my mom to win another Stanley Cup.
All right. I think he'd win. No offense to Mrs. May.
Well, it's not good.
I'm looking forward to Mayday after the break. All right. Listening and watching on our YouTube channel, Real Kyper and Bourne, after the break.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne back. Derek Brandale and Jennifer Rolnick. Happy birthday, Jennifer.
Yeah. Woo. Happy birthday. I have no idea. I mean, no one knows what year it is. No one's even going to ask. It's just how this works.
Have we found Mayday yet? Mayday.
We are here.
Mayday.
We're
Mayday.
here, Nick.
Mayday.
How you doing, Kyper?
The last time we spoke to you, I think you had a swab up your nose.
You know what? I did. we've had some funny conversations, that's for sure. But it was in a wind tunnel outside a place. I think it was in Texas. Yeah, I was getting a PCR test done. But glad I'm done with that, and hopefully we're beyond that COVID stuff, guys.
Yes.
I know it's still around us, but we need to see fans in buildings, and we need them to be loud and raucous, and hopefully it'll be an unbelievable playoff coming up.
I think we got that vibe last night with the Toronto Maple Leafs in Florida, and obviously tons of Canadians down there. They're never short of Leaf fans or Montreal Canadian fans down there. But your thoughts on Toronto's 3 out of 4 points, if I want to keep the glass fairly full for Leaf fans. Still, at the end of the day, not bad. But your thoughts on what you saw last night?
Well, let's go back 2 nights ago. Obviously, it was a big statement game playing against the Lightning. And you know what? At the end of the day, they're measuring each other up, and they're probably coaches are trying to figure out what the matchups will be if they're going to play these teams and how we're going to defend. And I think that's the problem for Toronto is defending. They certainly can score goals, guys. They scored a bunch the last couple of days, but you got to be able to defend late in the season going into the playoffs. And I'm a little afraid of that for Toronto. But if we're just talking about their pure skill and the guys up front, and of course joining the rush, Morgan Riley and players like that, Toronto's unreal. They could outscore anybody. But the problem for the playoffs and down the stretch, guys, it's defense is what's going to win championships, not offense.
And how much do you believe in the idea of them having demons in their head? Like we were saying before you came on, they've blown 7 leads of 4-1 going back, however many years, which is more than double the next teams in the NHL. It just feels like they've got this sort of penchant for doing that thing. Is that just bad luck, or do you truly believe there's some psychological factor there?
Well, I think it's, listen, maybe it's luck. Sure, some of those goals and each case it's different. But when you're up 4-1, and you just cited a pretty terrible statistic, you don't really have to score your 5th goal.
No.
You don't have to pinch at the blue lines. You don't have to join the rush. You can get the puck deep. There's nothing wrong with chipping the puck into the corners and then grinding it out to literally forget scoring goals, kill time off the clock in the offensive zone. You don't need to be making shots from the perimeter. Obviously, get blocked, and all of a sudden it's odd man rushes. And I'm not saying every goal is like that, but you got to learn how to play with a lead. And if they've been doing it that many times, obviously the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. They got to change their perspective and certainly maybe even their game plan when they are up. And I'm not saying, fall back on their heels, but play forward, play north-south, but get the puck behind defensemen and grind. And Kyper, you won a Stanley Cup in New York. Your team was gifted. You guys could score goals, but you didn't win because you were scoring goals. You won because you defended.
I got to think whether you're Sheldon or even Andrew Burnett, you're sending that message. It's got to be in your pregame speech. It's got to be constantly brought up. Do you think it's easier, Mayday, for the players to not worry about following precision strategy like it was, I don't know, when we played? Maybe we were too dumb, too scared to fall off and do something on our own. But is this just sometimes players going, I still want to do it my way?
I think it's a little bit like that. And by the way, I mean, it seems like it's negative. I mean, Toronto's they've had a really strong year. They're a good hockey team, and they could beat anybody in the NHL. But simple is not stupid, Nick. Simple hockey, and especially when you're getting down, when one mistake is going to be the difference between going on in a series or being down in one. And it's about playing that for the other guys, and not necessarily padding your stats and trying to score and being that electric player all the time. Again, simple's not stupid in the game, and I do think the way the game is, it's so skilled. These players are so much better than you and I ever were, Nick. But you know what? You're right. We were battered by coaches. We were afraid to make mistakes, and maybe we played too simple at times, and where your first and second line players could, skill it up and do what they could do. But the bottom line is, killing and eating minutes off the clock is as important as scoring your third goal to go up by a couple, right? I mean, tight games, playoffs are going to be tight, and there's no question Toronto could win the Stanley Cup. They're that good, but they got to defend. And I don't know. It was alarming to see that 5 straight goals by Florida in a game where you're trying to make a statement.
They're trying to make a statement, and one of the goals that goes in is on Erik Källgren, and it's a shorthanded slapper from Radko Gudas from not a good spot on the rink. Shouldn't go in. He gets hit in the head after that and pulls himself from the game, and then he's fine to stay in the game and sits on the bench the rest of the way. I don't know what your thoughts on that particular situation were, but I guess I'm curious to know what your thoughts on that as a player are when you see a teammate who it feels like probably could go and doesn't. What do you make of those sort of scenarios?
You know what? I'm going to steer myself completely away from that question.
Okay.
I apologize for that. I will never question a player's character.
Great.
And that's as a teammate. I'm certainly not a teammate anymore, right? I'm not playing, but I know what it's like to be in a locker room. And the moment those questions and those kind of conversations start happening, it erodes the confidence of the group. I'm not going to go there. If he's injured, he's injured. There's no question he should have stopped the third goal by Gudas inside the blue line. Those are things like you're winning the game and you're winning it handily. And all of a sudden it's one little goal. It gives Claude Giroux excitement, to not lose that game. And all of a sudden he scores his first as a Panther shortly thereafter. And Huberdeau is one of the best players in the game, maybe the Hart Trophy winner this year, maybe. He went off to the races with Barkov. So all it takes. You remember Vancouver and Detroit in the playoffs? I think it was in 2002 or 3. Nick Lidstrom scores one from center ice. Detroit comes back, wins 4 straight, and knocks out the Vancouver Canucks. It was, little goals like that, man. They erode the confidence of the group for sure.
Hey, matey, I certainly appreciate where you're coming from when it comes to questioning somebody, but you can't deny though, whether it's small whispers on the bench or at the hotel or at dinner. That's the one position that if you don't feel confident about, then that probably 70% of what you do gets lost in the equation, because that position is that important, especially playoff time. And you, for many years, you had Dominik Hasek, one of the best in history. I mean, not too many conversations where you had to worry about that guy.
No, and that's the whole thing. That's why I don't want to go there with that conversation, because it can only be negative. By the way, even asking the question, and you guys are so spot on probably, that, the conversation, if it's being had, there's now lack of trust. And you cannot become a champion in the NHL or probably any sport if you don't trust your teammates. And that's, so as a teammate, I really want to, or as a former player, I don't ever want to question someone's character. If he pulled himself out, I have to imagine he was hurt, but the conversation's being had, maybe not in their locker room, but certainly listen to us. Right. So, but I think Toronto, Jack Campbell, real statement game against the Lightning. Mitch Marner's lighting it up. Matthews, he could be the Hart Trophy winner, scoring as many goals as he has. I'm excited for Toronto. I want to see them play tougher and defend. It's not about scoring 6 goals. It's about winning, 3-1, 3-2 games in the playoffs, or even less.
We had that chat a little earlier on the show about, playoff style hockey. And I was making the point that the Penguins didn't defend all that awesome in 17, or the Capitals the year after that. Do you believe that teams consciously play different when they get into the playoffs, or is it just that the best teams or the best defensive teams move on? What is it that makes us all believe that in the playoffs it's about physicality and defense over scoring when we see so many teams that score well have success?
Well, I think it's desperation. I mean, guys are playing for contracts. I want to say probably 100. I wouldn't be 100, but it would be certainly a couple players on every playoff team. That's times 16 that will never sign a contract again. These players are playing for their jobs for next year and going forward. They're playing for positioning. They're desperate. Like desperation, hockey is dropping down, blocking a shot, and putting your body or sacrificing your body, possibly to broken bones or stitches. Or I just remember a vivid imagery, obviously, of Dougie Gilmour with no teeth, right, or Bobby Clark. Bob Rouse drops down, blocks a shot, breaks his face. Ian LaPerriere in 2010, I think it was, or 2011, with the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, he sacrificed and he was out there. And it's not about, hugging your teammates necessarily, in a rout, because guess what? Each game is only one game, right? And you could win 12-0, and the next game you could lose 1-0 in overtime, and the series is tied. It's not about the number. It's about how many, obviously, wins you get. And they're not all going to be the same. You got to score, you got to defend, you got to play tough, and you got to have good goaltending. I mean, it's not that hard. But if I was to rate all of that, I'd say it's goaltending, it's defending, and then it's offense to win a Stanley Cup.
You had experienced a winning recipe for a Stanley Cup, and the one thing that I try to stress, Mayday, is just the prep work to go into a series, and how much you truly study your opponent, and how each player has a role and a responsibility unlike anything that you've ever experienced during the regular season. And that just in itself, it gives what playoff hockey is all about a whole new meaning.
Oh, for sure, Nick. And you're in the hotels, and you've got conference rooms, and you've got videos, and I mean, this happens all year long, but it's difficult to be 100% focused on all the details for 7 months or 6 months during a season. Obviously, teams go in, streaks where they have it, and sometimes they don't. But you can't blink in the playoffs. You could be done playing hockey in a week and a half and be the best team in the league. And all it takes is coming up against a team that's desperate, maybe gets lucky, scores a couple goals, and gets good goaltending. I mean, the Columbus Blue Jackets knocked off Tampa a few years ago. Nobody saw that one coming, and they've gone on, but they learned their lessons. My fear for Toronto is they haven't learned their lessons of being down or up in games and having teams come back on them, because that actually does erode the confidence. So I'm a believer. I'm a bettor on the Toronto Maple Leafs 100%, but I may lose my money.
Well, looking around the NHL, it's a funny thing right now. There's always like a team or two who gets hot after they're eliminated, and you're like, wait, is that team good? And I'm there with the Buffalo Sabres right now. They're 6-1-3 in their last 10 games. Not sure how much you've watched them lately. Just want to get your sense. Do you think this team is ready to turn it around, or is it just a strange little blip here?
Okay. So I was in Buffalo for Rick Jennerat's retirement this past weekend. It was unreal. It was a great night. The energy in the building was as good as I've seen it in a long, long, long time. They are excited about this young group. Alex Tuch has really made a difference in the personality of that group, not to mention the other young players that are playing so strong and well. But there's no doubt their record doesn't matter. Teams are going in there playing backup goaltenders. They're not as committed.
Right.
I know every game is important, guys, but you see it all the time. The Phoenix Coyotes over the years, missing playoffs but winning down the stretch. Edmonton Oilers, teams that haven't had success over the last 2 decades. And if you look at their record, I bet you they're above 500 in the last 25 games of every season. I'm guessing on that, guys, but I don't think these games matter. But for the players, the top players are going to actually, gain something from this in Buffalo. And there's going to be 7 or 8 players that will not be asked back, not invited back to Buffalo because of the year they've had.
Right. And Rick Jennerat, I mean, it's an amazing story, but, because he's so popular and you're hard pressed to find someone remotely as popular in the last 10, 15 years. That in itself is an issue.
Oh, it is an issue. I mean, it was Rick's. He's the best, and I love him. And I have a moment in history that's tied with Rick, and the night for RJ was very special. But it's amazing. I think probably the last really important player that's really done big things for the city of Buffalo is probably Ryan Miller. The city embraced him. That was after Dom, obviously. And it's been too long in Buffalo. They've got too many great fans, and it's a great place. I know maybe Buffalo, or not Buffalo, but Toronto, Southern Ontario maybe looks down on Western New York, but Buffalo's a special place, and they love their hockey, and a lot of their fan base comes from the Golden Horseshoe. So it's a great place, but really, it's way too long. Their team has stunk for way too long, and I'm not buying that stock yet. Next year, training camp, let me see what they did in the off season, where they're going to go. I can't imagine them being better than Toronto, Florida, Carolina, Tampa. It's going to take years for this team to rebound and recover, I think.
And just your thoughts about Ryan Getzlaf, the retirement. Could he have held on for one more year? Are you happy he's going out this way?
I'm happy. Listen, it would be great if they made the playoffs. I love Getz. We won a Stanley Cup together. You always forever have that bond. He was a young man at the time. He and Corey Perry and Dustin Penner and Chris Kunitz. We had a great group of young guys, and I've watched Ryan since I retired, and I'm a big fan. I'm a fan of the player, a fan of the person. But he's got 4 children. I think he's at that moment where he wants to be home with his kids. He's earned that right. He's made a ton of money. He's done well. He doesn't need to come back and risk bodily injury. So I'm actually excited that he's retired, and maybe I can take some money off him on the golf course in future years. Who knows?
Just one more before I let you go. First of all, I hope we see Getzlaf in a position with the Anaheim Ducks, because he has, in many ways, been the face of that franchise. No question about that.
Nick, just quick comment. There's 3 guys in this franchise, maybe 4, that are really, really important. That will always be part of it going forward. Scotty Niedermayer, Paul Kariya, Teemu Selanne, and Ryan Getzlaf.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I really hope, and there are some great young talent we know, and it's led by guys like Zegras out there. But I like Zegras' chances of being a great hockey player and having this great, strong mind for our game. I like his chances of that happening a lot better with a guy like Getzlaf around him than not around him.
Well, Ryan Getzlaf, he's a leader. He's a winner everywhere he's gone. He's been a winner. He's a great person, and there's no question you need those quality individuals to make everybody else better. And for these young players in Anaheim, I'm sure they do recognize it, even when they're focused on their own jobs and playing, that it's really, really special that they got to, share a locker room and borrow the ear of Ryan, on airplanes or buses. That kind of leadership, you can't talk about it. It's learned. It's in those relationships. It's in those idle moments. And that's probably the one thing I miss most about being a player is having those conversations with the guys you look up to.
Hey, we mentioned off the top of this interview with you or hit with you about the swab, but this is still our favorite clip right here. Hold on.
I'd fight my mom to win another Stanley Cup.
You know what? I know your mom. I envision the Will Smith on you with your mom.
There's no question. Hey, that's why I can say it, right? I'm not a donkey. I'm not going to do that, of course. But it just speaks of the passion it takes to win. But there's no doubt my mom would kick my butt. There's no doubt she's amazing and she's just such a great person. But really, you have to have that kind of twisted mind to do whatever it takes to try to win. Yeah,
I tell Sammy that all the time. And
maybe you don't need your whole team with a head like that, but
just a couple.
You need a couple players that keep it uneasy and crazy, and a little uncomfortable for the other team. There's no doubt about it.
That's why we keep bringing you back on our show, pal.
Well, I really appreciate it. I love you guys, and I hate being tough on Toronto, but guess what? They do it to themselves. They have the ability to win. They just have to go out and do it and prove it to all of us.
There it is, Stanley Cup champion Brad May. Hey, Mayday, thanks for doing this, pal.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Little old school, like me.
Yeah.
Can we put him in the dinosaur category?
He's not a dinosaur to hold someone to high standards like the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's like they're the gifted kid in class. So you're like, listen, I can't let you mess around. You're blowing your talent. I need to push you.
But he likes them.
Right.
He just wants them to prove it. And I think that's
Who doesn't like them? Who doesn't have fun watching Matthews and Marner and,
Pierre Engvall.
He wouldn't suggest he drive Mikheyev to the airport.
No,
3
who would
months ago.
say that? Who would say that? I said that pre-hand transplant for Mikheyev.
Hand transplant.
What a doctor!
But here's the thing: he had a couple of chances last night where he kind of looked like the old Mikheyev, kind of shot it right at the goal.
Well, he did not want to bring it across. He
did bring it across and missed.
He just the one shot. I'm thinking of the one too.
He had 2 breakaways.
He just shot a high blocker.
High blocker.
Minute and a half in.
But then he did have another break where he went backhand. The thing that terrifies me with him,
breakaways.
He's so good right now. And he's undeniably a very important guy for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But he is the classic guy that you pay too much.
Oh, God, yeah.
And next year he scores 5 goals and he's clanging it off the end boards again.
I can't help but watch both Mikheyev and Engvall and think at some point next season, both guys are going to have 20-game goalless droughts.
I agree.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Mikheyev's gone to the place where he's
Mikheyev's above Engvall in that category.
He is much. Yeah. I just think he's worst case scenario. He's 6 to 8 in your depth chart, and that's still $4 million, and that's penalty killing, and that's driving.
Better Michael Grabner, as in 3 breakaways a game, and if he has the worst conversion rate in the NHL, he's still going to score 10 times because he's just going to get so many chances. Also, he's better in other areas.
That speed will never disappear on him for the next little while.
Yeah, he's going to have a run here where he's getting 100 breakaways a year.
So what do you think the number starts with for him for next year?
Show me the money.
Yeah, I don't think
I want to say 4-3, 4-5.
I don't think
I'll drive him to the airport still then.
I don't think Milstein's out there to help fit him under Toronto's cap. I think he's getting him as much money as he can.
He's a free pickup. Right? It's not costing you anything other than money.
I'm doing the teams in my head.
So, does
no one has any money.
Detroit want to get better?
Yeah. What's McCabe? 27 probably.
15 goal scorer. I don't think you're going to. I don't think you're going to get into overpaying like maybe the Oilers ended up doing for Hyman, and we love Hyman.
Yeah.
But
he's 27.
5'5". Is that what Hyman signed?
Yeah, that's 5'5".
He is one of the best penalty killers in the league, though.
Could
Mikheyev.
you sell?
Yes.
Yeah. Could you sell Mikheyev? Stick around Toronto. More term than dollars, and something that starts with 3.9.
Still scared of that.
He's how old? He's going to be 27 or 28.
He's 27 now.
Okay, so 28. You don't need the Toronto Maple Leafs to get term. You can go get term on your own. You can go get 5 or 6 years.
Maybe he likes it here. He's got an apartment he likes
Greek
and a
town.
dog. I'm making stuff up here now, but
hey, Saganaki.
you like a nice Saganaki?
Yeah, great. They got great food.
Come check out the Danny.
Right?
God,
that's enough to give him a hometown discount, isn't it?
Yeah. Toronto food is amazing. My one complaint is they don't have like New York style Chinese food. Otherwise, it's the best food.
You mean small town Canada Chinese food?
No. Yeah, I don't
know. Small town Ontario Chinese food is amongst the best Chinese food on earth.
from your diverse experience in Peterborough.
Yes, I've had Chinese food in a lot of places.
Anyway, if you have a good Chinese recommendation, I would love to have it because my wife and I are struggling. She's from New York. Keep in mind, we're looking for a good.
Okay, stop it. I'm getting hungry.
All right,
I'm starving.
And if you want to sponsor the show and just pay us in Chinese food, we'll also listen to that.
We're scrounging around for chips before every show here. We like to eat, this crew.
Yeah.
All right, let's get our thoughts before the show winds down here on Gallagher, on Stutzle. Played last night. Stutzle goes down on a a knee.
Yep.
It
was a knee.
Behind the net. And this is what Gallagher had to say about that.
When I was 10 years old, our coach had a rule. If you lay on the ice, and we didn't have trainers, if the coach had to come on the ice and get you, you're too hurt to play. You had to sit for minimum 3 shifts. He's a great player. Played against him for 2-3 years now. More than half the games we've played against him, he's laid on the ice, and he's right back out there next shift. He lays on the ice. He acts like he's hurt. He sells the call. He's on the ice that same power play. It's, there's kids watching. We're role models. If I was a teammate of his, I'd tell him to smarten up. It's just not a good look. Very talented player, very good player. He needs to stop laying on the ice. It's embarrassing. When I was 10 years old,
All right.
our coach had a rule. If you lay on the ice.
Well,
I don't know what the hell happened there, but it was just the same clip.
It was so good you played it again.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Maybe I recorded it twice. I don't know. Anyways.
Okay. Do we think that there's a chance at the next GM meetings in Boca when they discuss new rules that there's a chance that if you do lie on the ice that you have to miss the next 3 shifts?
No, I don't.
Pee-wee rule?
Let's just cross that off the list then.
Okay.
I'm just trying to give those meetings some meaning.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah. I listened to that whole clip and I think 2 things are true. Maybe Stutzle is someone who lays on the ice a little bit longer to help sell a call. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't watched him enough in his career to have a real sense of if that's true or not, but I think that is a fair criticism that some players do that worse than others.
Definitely.
I also roll my eyes aggressively at the idea of, there are kids watching. That Gallagher's, the case he's making is for the good of the children here. He's worried about the kids. Like, come on with the high and mighty. If you want to chirp the guy and call him soft, say he's a diver. I don't like the idea that he's up here as a noble moral stance for the kids.
Let me just say this about the guy who's saying these things as well. Let's say Gallagher comes off the ice, a lot of snow on his jersey. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Guy's flopping around all the time. I've watched a million of this guy play against the Leafs. I mean, you think of his
He's durable,
battles.
He gets in there, but he
lies around.
Likes to draw a penalty.
He flies around a little bit. So I think you have to consider the source here. But I got to tell you, I love this clip. I'd love it. I'd love the way he starts it. When I was 10 years old, it sounds like the Joker. I'm into it. I love the clip.
I'm a dinosaur. I'm buying in a little bit into Sammy that I welcome some animosity.
Yeah.
I welcome some, hatred, or you're pissing me off, or I'm calling you out, or whatever. I mean, the last thing I want is,
why are you so pissy?
Vanilla, right? So I get that part. I'm just not sure in the grand scheme of things, and to Sammy's point a little bit, that Gallagher wants to be the guy that plays judge and jury on who's hurt or who's not hurt.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a bit of a slippery slope, especially the way he plays.
Right.
That, there are times when we've seen him take one. We saw it in the bubble when Matt Niskanen, if I'm not mistaken, cross-checked him in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he didn't lie on the ice and roll around. I give him full credit. But, at the same time, people got to find out how hurt you are sometimes.
Yeah. And also, Stutzle wasn't down that long.
Not horribly long.
Noted.
I mean,
he gets kneed and then.
I don't know. I mean, did he stay on the ice for 5 seconds, 10 seconds? It wasn't a minute.
No.
Right?
No.
And he did get up and skate. He was assisted by a trainer. But if I can recall, too, in the 14 playoffs. I think it was the Rangers and Montreal. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Derek Stepan took a shot to his jaw, and they all called him out. Faker will be in there the next game. I don't know how hurt he is. And Gallagher was right there too.
Yeah.
And
broken jaw, right?
Broken jaw.
Yeah.
Surgery. And might have missed 1 or 2 games, but came back with a broken jaw.
Right. Like the ultimate toughest dude.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you really want to start talking about who's hurt and who's not hurt publicly?
I think this is Brad May's point that he just made on our conversation about Shellgren, right? He basically saying it's a slippery slope. It's also the Gallagher thing is a bit of a politician move. You know, if you're like the ultimate liar, to be like, my opponent's a huge liar. Like it's I think that's you. Isn't that not you? So
I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
I want to know how I got these scars.
I like it from Gallagher. It's just the embodiment of Gallagher as a player. So.
Yep. When I was young.
Yeah, back when I was young. Guy in the NHL.
All right, we mentioned a little bit about the McDavid and Draisaitl conversation. There seems to be a vibe out there that 2 guys in the running for a Hart.
Mm-hmm.
Could that
devalues their chance at winning it?
Do they cancel each other out?
The guys we're talking about, McDavid and Draisaitl, the guys who just won the Hart Trophy, and then the year before one of them won the Hart Trophy.
Oh, the last 2 Hart winners.
Probably
so
not.
Is this, the feeling that perhaps if you're an Edmonton Oiler fan, that the popularity of, say, an Austin Matthews will overcome even what's deemed a better season, at least statistically, not in the goals department, but in the points department. And that more points usually supersedes the most goals.
I would say it's a flaw of our voting system that most people just look at the points leaders and go, oh, him now. Like all of a sudden, like Huberdeau passed whoever he passed to be second in the NHL. And now it's like, oh, maybe Huberdeau for Hart. It's like, oh, some assists aren't going to change what you think of the player or the seasons he's had. I don't think at this point. The contention, I guess, is when you talk about value, does a guy have to be this much better than the next best player in his team? And McDavid and Draisaitl kind of split that a little bit. I don't know.
I think a lot of people are scared that Leafs going to win the MVP.
Yeah.
Okay. But why are they scared?
Because the fans are brutal.
Leafs fans will be relentless.
Are they scared because they think that, the writers, the majority of them are from Toronto, or the influential ones are from Toronto, or this is going to be a sentimental decision to make the Toronto Maple Leafs a Hart winner?
Make no bones about it. The worst thing for hockey fandom and hockey Twitter is Leafs having success, like winning a cup, Hart trophies, that thing, because there's the most Leafs fans and they're annoying.
Correct.
I think it threatens to harm people who aren't Leafs fans, do not want to see the Leafs have success. I think the Hart Trophy vote is a small thing in team success, but it's a thing Leafs fans would have.
For sure.
And there's concern about that because people will hear about it.
Well, I've said this right from the beginning that and I've been consistent with this over the years. There's a jealousy thing out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yes.
And it has nothing to, of course, it doesn't stem from all the championships the last, 50
people
plus
are afraid.
years.
Imagine if there was championships.
That's right.
Oh.
Now all of a sudden, are you guys the most financially successful organization? But now you're going to have championships too. We don't want that. Nobody wants to see that. Win Harts and Norrises.
Let's be clear. That is the undercurrent of every Leafs conversation had everywhere, is that no one wants that outside of Toronto. And I don't even think Leafs fans would know what to do with themselves if they had some actual arsenal, some success in the playoffs here. I don't think they know what to do with themselves.
Let me dream one
day.
You okay,
boys. Sammy?
I let myself think about it once a month.
Would you think about it 1 year? Because that's what we heard in New York. Just please once before I die.
I have said those exact words 1,000 times in my life. One before I go.
I'm hoping you got a little bit of runway here, Sammy.
Well, yeah, but I've made the joke before, like when the Cubs won the World Series and they showed like the montage of all the people who were celebrating, and then they flashed to like some geezer in his recliner. Oh, they I did it. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I want to be able to walk around and enjoy it.
Be able to head out to the after hours one night.
Yes.
So I went down. I told you for a little bit of a reunion with the Rangers, and they're like 1-86, and I'm like, I didn't even do the math, but that's what it is. One champion. They're complaining about one championship in 86 years
For the Rangers.
for the Rangers.
Yeah.
Like it sucks.
Right. Like
How many
mathematically,
they
they
went
should
to the
have
final.
3.
What year was it they went to the final?
I think 14, didn't they?
Beat the Devils?
I don't know.
No, it
Yeah,
wasn't.
LA.
Kings beat them.
L.A.
Yeah, but I thought they beat the Devils on the way to get there, maybe. Anyways.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm sure they did.
Sounds right.
That's fine. You care?
I do care. Going to the buddy.
No.
Leafs went to
you
the
care
final?
If they beat the Devils.
Oh,
or-
no. I
Yeah.
was just thinking it out loud.
Okay.
But a finals trip for the Leafs
Yes.
would be huge. Huge.
That's
even
right.
if they lost.
I'm just trying to, like, if they
Good
were.
for us, too, boys.
I
Well,
just
and
can't imagine the
that's the other
momentum.
thing too. That's the other thing that pisses everybody off, especially in Western Canada. Just that comment. It's good for us, right?
He means us, the real Kyper and Bourne show.
I do.
For sure.
Yes.
But even like Hockey Night in Canada,
Yeah.
they will make the most money if the Leafs win, not Calgary, right? Not Edmonton.
Edmonton, Calgary is a series head-to-head would.
No, not even a dent. This is all about the Leafs. The cash cow is if the Leafs go to a final.
Yeah.
People are bent out of shape about the jealousy comment on the text line. It's like text just flying in. Jealous of what exactly? 50 years of futility, baba.
How about like, a Toronto-Vancouver game and they spend 25 minutes in pregame talking about the Leafs and 5 minutes on Vancouver. That's part of it.
Well, Bieksa has said that when he was with Vancouver, that is part of it is that frustration of not feeling like you get adequate coverage because of the
It's not adequate.
crappy Leafs at the time were
They're
getting more
going
air
where
than the
the
good
cash
Canucks.
is going. They're going where the popularity is going. They're going where the numbers are going.
Which is why everything's going away at gambling. That's where the money is. Hey, here's your gambling line and everything. Speaking of...
Boy, I got some action on the Masters, boys.
Follow the cash.
In
That's the root of all evil.
Yeah, well, that's the root of all, unfortunately.
All right. Sammy?
Masters
What,
action.
what chances does Tiger have?
To make the cut.
To make the cut, good. Top 20, maybe. Other than that, nothing.
So-
Freddie Couple said if he can walk 72 holes, I give him a chance. It's like, God, it's that bad? He's hurt.
His injury wasn't is that bad that he needs a flag on a cart.
He probably should have one.
No,
as
I'm,
long
I'm
as he's
serious.
not driving
Yeah,
it.
I'm serious. He's okay physically to
Your
walk.
guess is as good as mine. He's walking the practice
Who
rounds.
was it, Casey Martin that used to...
And who's his group? Would you like to be in that group, or you
Louis
don't want to be in that group?
Oosthuizen and Joaquin Neiman is who he's teeing it off with
And
tomorrow.
the
And
answer
they
is
would be happy
no.
or not happy.
Horribly mad.
Totally personality dependent. Some guys might love it.
Yeah.
I got big money on Cam Smith and John Rahm.
Sam Burns. Who else I got? Neiman, answer.
All right. Our thanks to David Amber, Brad May, Justin Bourne.
Fight my mom.
What's
to have
Jennifer
on again.
doing tonight? Partying, harding. Happy birthday, Jen. Derek, thank you very much. We'll see everybody tomorrow on Real Kyper and Bourne. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.